Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of This Week in Watches on March 7th. As per usual, we're going to be jumping into some highlights from YouTube, some highlights from Instagram, a deeper dive into the broader internet, and some non-watch related things to keep things interesting. The first video this week is from the very reliable Teddy Baldassarre, and he's talking about his recommendations within one of my favourite price ranges, which is the under $300 mark. He's pretty good at trying to mix it up and not just include the obvious ones. So there's some really nice Timex references in there. I liked the root beer Timex, which could be one I go for. A good dive into the Orient range, and also some classic Seikos in there, as well as some allusion to G-Shocks. So yeah, really good video from Teddy Baldassarre this week. The second video on this list just came into my inbox a few minutes ago actually, which is from Jennie Elle, and it's a really good one. So this is actually one of her Grail watches, which is a H. Moser, who seem to make these quite provocative ranges. I've seen a few of their interesting watches, but this one is made out of this substance that is the darkest material apparently that you can obtain. Jennie Elle actually takes a really nice angle on this one and kind of goes on to this almost reflection, kind of pun semi-intended, around what it means for something to be black versus white, with it being the absence of light. And you can probably see on the screen now the example that she uses to show that up. So yeah, an interesting choice, and I always like learning about new watches that I don't know about, so great video from Jennie Elle. The final watch-related video for this week is from Just One More Watch, which was a nice dive for him into one of the few Seikos that he's not actually reviewed previously, which is the Seiko Sumo. For obvious reasons, his wrist not able to accommodate it at the famous 7 inches. Definitely mine wouldn't be able to at only 16 centimeters. My lord, my wrist is very skinny. But yeah, nice review here. He seemed to be an absolute convert to this. Seems to be something to do with like the case design actually managing to somehow work wonders on that width to make it fit his wrist. But I think for a wrist diameter that kind of is below the 6.5 inch mark, I think the Seiko Sumo would not be for me. But regardless, really enjoyed the video done in his inimitable style. Highlights of Instagram shows my deepening spiral into the world of over-obsession on digital watches. On the left-hand side there is a couple of watches from the omnipresent freestyler Stephen, who just seems to get his hands on everything. So I think that's the 5500 version of the Joker colorway, as it's affectionately known as. I believe it's the Mac Baby limited edition variant. Second and from the left there is, I think it's a modded version of the Captain America classic G-Shock Luke Albert, another channel favourite, with a nice example of, I assume, a 5500 there, which I think is a custom. And then on the right hand side there is a classic G from the amazing resource Shockbase. If you've not been on Shockbase, check it out. It's a fantastic resource for looking up different G-Shock models. But the thing that I liked around this is that he's put it on a strap here, and I think it looks like quite a cool colour combination in this photo. So just a few nice G pictures today. Moving up the value chain slightly is some Seiko models and an Oris model. So on the left hand side there is the picture that tortures me from afar, which is from the This Is Watchable account. Periodically he puts a picture up of his fantastic SCD-027 Bishop variety, which is the really cool Tic Tac colorway. Very jealous. Hopefully we'll get my hands on one of these one day. In the middle there is the other Tic Tac edition, which is actually available up on eBay now. So if this one interests you, you should get up on there. I'm going to hold off going for this one and hold out for the one that I really want, which is the one on the left there. On the right hand side is a really cool Oris Aquis GMT. This is the Whale Shark edition, which is in line with their Conservation of the Seas kind of series, named for obvious reasons. If you look at the really cool dial pattern there, you can see it emulates the whale shark skin. So yeah, really cool series of watches in that middle zone. And rather than diving up to the luxury range as I would do in previous episodes, I'm absolutely going to go back the way towards the results of my digging this week in kind of retro Casio land. Most of these models from the 80s, I've kind of been getting into these printed Casio straps. Again, I believe most of the straps that you'll see on the screen now are largely replicas, because I think most of these eroded back in the day. But there's kind of 3 models that I particularly like, which are relatively new to me. So on the left-hand side there is the F15 classic, no frills, just the time I think I saw one of these just go on eBay for about £400. I think these are from my birth year around 1984. The white one I think is the coolest. The kind of second in from the left there I think is the F-78, I could be wrong, BMX series, and on the right is the ones I'm most interested in, which is the F23w in a couple of different colourways. I'm hoping I might have just won one of those on the right hand side there in the yellow and blue on an eBay auction just about to finish. Fingers crossed. Now, my non-watch related video of recommendation this week is a bit of a heavy one, so forgive me if this is not your vibe, but this is from a channel called Soft White Underbelly, so named after a famous reference from Winston Churchill where he described Italy as the soft white underbelly during World War II. It's actually a really powerful series of interviews with very regular uploads. I think he's got thousands of different interviews on there of people. You probably saw at the start there, Bob was framed as heroin addict, and that comes with all of those connotations. But actually, he's very good at actually listening during the interview and hearing their stories, and you'd be surprised at how articulately some of these people present their circumstances as some of the difficulties they've been through. And if you see one of the interviews with the guy who makes this channel, he kind of describes it as like a crash course on empathy. And that's kind of what I found. So I found it really interesting and quite illuminating, and would recommend it for others as a similar crash course in empathy during a difficult time. And that's all for this March 7th edition of This Week in Watches. If you're minded to do so, please do consider clicking the subscribe button on YouTube. I seem to have plateaued around that 13 subscriber mark, but it is what it is. If you would also want to check over my Instagram, it's @WatchReactions. Have a great rest of your day.